Hello, this is a sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker, and today is Friday, July 18th, 2025. The weather in this area, Lexington, Kentucky, East Coast of the United States, currently is about 80 degrees and feels like 86. The high today will be 86. Still got 6 more degrees to go. There was talk about cloudy with showers and thunderstorms later on in the day, and expecting up to less than a quarter inch of rain. Earlier it was poor weather for running, and poor weather for cycling, and poor weather for gardening. And storms are possible this afternoon, 57% chance of that. The AQI is good at 31. UV index is moderate. And the wind is 4 miles per hour. Today, sunrise was at 6:29 a.m. and sunset will be at 8:58 p.m., creeping slowly away from that 9 p.m. high for daylight hours. Again, this is a sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker. And starting the show, before I get into the headlines and the top stories, I had seen this article in scrolling the internet, and it's under Yahoo Sports. As you know, Yahoo is an affiliate of America Online, AOL, and it's a discussion again about the NBA and the GOATs, or greatest of all time, as we like to say. So this discussion has gone back and forth, for as long as probably men want to talk about sports. And this particular part of it is coming from the perspective of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar not being included in the discussion. It usually starts with Michael Jordan with his 6 NBA championships and moves forward from there. So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's in my era. Skyhook, Will Chamberlain, and Bill Russell. Those are the centers that I grew up around. So I'm going to take this over for a minute or two and talk about my perspective of what a GOAT is or should be like. So here we go. Take you back to a few years ago when they did the 75th anniversary of the NBA, and Bill Russell and Kareem was there. Excuse me. And at that time, I mentioned on the program here on the sideshow that at that point, of all the people, men that aspire to be basketball players, in 75 years, only 5,000 had actually realized that dream and stepped onto the hard floor. So that right there kind of puts things into perspective. So first, I'm going to cover these 3 men in their position as centers as they played in their era of basketball. So Will Chamberlain is known, for a few things. One thing that immediately comes to mind is him having scored 100 points in one game. So, speaking on that, in the game where Will Chamberlain scored 100 points, the final score, which was my question to Google, was 169 to 147 in favor of the Philadelphia Warriors. They were playing against the New York Knicks on March 2nd, 1962. The game is also notable for several other records set by Chamberlain, including most field goals made, 36, and most field goal attempts, 63, in a single game. In the first quarter, he scored 23, had 41 at the half. Inclusion of the third, he had 69. And the game was played in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So that's just a little bit about Wilt. So we move over to Bill Russell. So if you're a Celtics fan and have that much background in it, then you probably remember some of that having occurred. Bill Russell's most notable record is winning 11 NBA championships, all with the Boston Celtics, a feat unmatched in NBA history. He also holds records for the most NBA Finals games played, 70, and the most Finals appearances, 12. Additionally, Russell was the first African-American head coach in the NBA, leading the Celtics to 2 more championships. Excuse me. And a little bit more about Wilt Chamberlain. Holds a staggering 72 NBA records, many of which are considered unbreakable. He is best known for his scoring prowess, including scoring 100 points in a single game, a record that still stands today. He also holds the record for most rebounds in a single game with 55, triple doubles notwithstanding. Beyond single-game feats, Chamberlain dominated in season-long statistics, including averaging 50.4 points per game in the 1961-62 season. And that brings us to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar set several significant records during his NBA career, most notably leading scorer with 38,387 points. He also holds records for most minutes played, 57,446, most field goals made, 15,837, and most defensive rebounds, 9,394. Additionally, he was a 6-time NBA MVP, a record that stood until recently broken. His records. All-time leading scorer stood for 39 years until it was surpassed by LeBron James. Most minutes played, a testament to his durability and longevity. Most field goals were a record at the time of his retirement. Excuse me. Most defensive rebounds, showcasing his ability to control the defensive end. Most NBA MVP awards. He won MVP award 6 times, a record matched only by LeBron James. Most All-Star appearances. He was selected to the All-Star game 19 times. Abdul-Jabbar also holds records for the most field goal attempts, most blocked shots, 3,189, and most personal fouls. At the time of his retirement, at age 42, in 1989, Abdul-Jabbar was the NBA's regular season career leader in points, 38,387, games played, 1,560, minutes, 57,446, field goals made, 15,837, field goal attempts, 28,307, blocked shots, 3,189, defensive rebounds, 9,394, and personal fouls, 4,657. So that is just a little touch on the career end of it. And I had his accomplishments here as well. So look at it like this. Kareem Abdul had accomplishments with after his completing his career. Let me bring it up because I want to do the man justice. I'm all over this right now, folks, but okay, here we go. So I just finished the part about at the time of his retirement. Now here we go after. He remains the all-time leader in minutes played and field goals made. He ranks second in career points and field goal attempts and is third all-time in both total rebounds, 17,440, and blocked shots. ESPN named him the greatest center of all time in 2007 and the greatest player in college basketball history in 2008. And the second best player, in NBA history behind Michael Jordan in 2016. Abdul-Jabbar has also been an actor, a basketball coach, a best-selling author, and a martial artist, having trained in Jeet Kune Do under Bruce Lee and appeared in his film Game of Death, 1972. In 2012, Abdul-Jabbar was selected by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to be a U.S. Global Cultural Ambassador. In 2016, President Barack Obama awarded him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So I was kind of feeling that, when I saw that article in Yahoo, but it's Kareem's own perspective and words of what he feels the GOAT discussion should be about. That's why I kind of stepped in and did my interpretation and brought some of the facts to you like I did. So I will say this. When you say old school, put some respect on that. Getting into today's headlines for today, Friday, July 18th. Here in Lexington, investigation continues after one shot severely wounded near Lexington Dairy Queen. I know there's been a lot in the news here locally about shootings and various other criminal activities regarding firearms and dangerous weapons. Last time there was a count, the homicide rate or homicide number was at 13. So we're a little bit past the middle of the year, and it took us maybe until about a month ago to get into the double digits. Woman found dead after animal control alerted to horses without water in Lexington. Next one, ex-mobster who shared cell with Jeffrey Epstein claims it's almost impossible the billionaire took his own life. A mobster who shared a jail cell with Jeffrey Epstein claims there's no way the billionaire killed himself. The claim was only added to the speculation surrounding the disgraced billionaire's death. The claim comes amid theories about Epstein being killed to cover up to protect high-profile individuals. I don't want their support. So Donald Trump finally makes it official as he ditches his oldest supporters and sides with Epstein's legacy. The MAGA meltdown over the Epstein files and the Department of Justice DOJ memo stating they did not exist reached a new pitch as President Trump shared a lengthy Truth and Social post calling any supporters upset about the move weaklings, stating, "I don't want their support." Next one in the news. Donald Trump's Justice Department says former officer convicted in Breonna Taylor shooting should serve 1 day in jail. The Justice Department requests 1 day behind bars for officer in Breonna Taylor case. The Justice Department under former President Donald Trump is catching major heat after recommending just 1 day in jail for Brett Hankinson, the ex-Louisville cop convicted of violating Breonna Taylor's rights during the deadly 2020 police raid. Next one, this is an encouraging sign they're acknowledging. Colin Cowherd believes Caitlin Clark is no longer viewed as a threat by fellow WNBA players. Ever since Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, the league has experienced a meteoric rise in viewership, fandom, ticket sales, and marketability. While media outlets were quick to credit the Indiana Fever Guard for revitalizing a league that many felt had been stagnant for years, several players developed a sense of resentment towards her. Since the spotlight fell solely on her, fellow WNBA players felt as if her arrival alone was being framed as the savior of the league. However, after Clark was voted as the future face of the league by fellow players in a recent poll, sports analyst Colin Cowherd thanked the stars that CeCe is finally receiving the love and respect she deserves from those around her. Continuing with the news headlines, Diddy trial fallout. Prosecutor who took on disgraced rapper Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell fired from Southern District of New York. The U.S. Department of Justice has dismissed federal prosecutor Maureen Comey, a longtime attorney for the Southern District of New York, SDNY, following her high-profile work on cases involving disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Comey, who joined the SDNY office in 2015, played a prominent role in prosecuting both Jeffrey Epstein's criminal network and the more recent charges against Combs. Her termination, confirmed by multiple sources, including CBS News, came without formal explanation, raising questions about political interference and internal reshuffling at the Justice Department. This next one is a little bit convoluted, but you may have heard it before, mentioned somewhere, somehow. French First Lady Brigitte Macron appeals in sex swap case over two women's claims she used to be a man. Since Emmanuel took office in 2017, Brigitte has faced conspiracy theories about her gender and intense scrutiny over the 24-year age gap in her marriage. Kind of fill in the gaps a little bit. Two people, Roy and Ray, I thought it was one person, but apparently it's two women, who act as spiritual mediums, decided they were going to just put up a video that kind of inferred that Bridget was at one time a man who would be her brother, who had a sex change operation and then married Emmanuel. It kind of trickled over here to the United States, and a couple of people kind of got on it a little bit. So where it's at now is last September, a lower court found Roy and Ray guilty of slander and ordered defendants to pay $9,400 in damages to Bridget and $5,800 to her brother. While Bridget appeared to score a legal victory, an appeals court overturned Roy and Ray's convictions on Thursday, July 10th. Candace Owens was the one that made a few comments about the situation. Just came back to me. Next one, Trump just blamed Biden for something he did himself, and the internet is not letting him get away with it. President Donald Trump's critics on Wednesday were stunned after he appeared to forget who appointed Federal Chair Jerome Powell. Hint, it was Trump himself. And rounding up the top 10 stories in the headlines, IG model abused by rapper boyfriend. This was one of those articles, they just give you the headlines, and it has hashtag Triselda Blanco alleges Houston rapper, hashtag Cartel Bo puts his hands on her, hashtag Houston, hashtag breaking news, hashtag viral. The rest of the article, readers weighted in with comments. So if that's something that you might find of interest, you can access it. Moving on to the top stories. Number one, Justice Department says former officer convicted in Breonna Taylor raid should get 1 day in jail. This is a little bit more on it than what was stated in the headlines. Taylor's killing became a pillar in the Black Lives Matter movement and one of several cases that sparked nationwide protests against police violence in 2020. It gained a shortened if granted a shortened sentence, could reflame tensions with activists who believe that government institutions protect officers from facing consequences. The filing was signed not by lawyers involved in the case or the career staff who usually handle sentencing requests, but by Trump's appointee to run the Civil Rights Department, Harmeet Dillon, and a senior non-career official, which means somebody that's been in their position less than 3 years, in her division. The request for Hankerson to serve 1 day behind bars would mean a sentence of time served, meaning that he would not return to jail. They're also asking Judge Rebecca Jennings to sentence him to 3 years supervised release. Legendary skydiver Felix Baumgartner, best known for free fall from space, dies in paragliding accident. Felix Baumgartner, the Australian skydiver best known for his record-setting dive from space, died in a paragliding accident in Italy Thursday, according to Italian officials. He was 56. Damian Lillard heading back home to Portland, near to deal to join Trailblazers. Damian Lillard is headed back to Portland, the city he loves and where he is a franchise icon. Lillard, 35, is a free agent after being waived and stretched by the Milwaukee Bucks to free up room for them to sign Miles Turner, and he is deep in negotiations to return to Portland. A story broken by Zach Lowe of The Ringer and Bill Oram of the Oregon. And then Leonard confirmed the news on social media. A 22-year-old charged in the alleged killing of American Idol music supervisor. Murder and burglary charges were filed Thursday in the killing of an American Idol music supervisor and her husband in Los Angeles. The suspect, 22-year-old Raymond Bodarian, is accused of scaling a fence onto the Encino property and then shooting and killing the couple during a struggle when they arrived home from the grocery store, authorities said. Bodarian has been charged with 2 counts of murder and a count of residential burglary with special circumstance allegation of multiple murders and murder during the commission of a burglary, the district attorney's office said. Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice sentenced to 30 days in jail for high-speed crash. This one I am going to share with you because it's got a lot of don't do this at home, don't do this with yourself, don't follow my example type thing. So, here we go. Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice sentenced to 30 days in jail for high-speed crash. After the collision, Mr. Rice failed to check on the welfare of the victims and fled on foot, Dallas County prosecutors said. Okay, the circumstances are he was driving a Lamborghini at 119 miles per hour on the highway, maneuvering it. Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice pleaded guilty to charges connected to a high-speed crash in Dallas last year and agreed to a 30-day jail sentence that could precede NFL punishment, officials said Thursday. Rice will also receive 5 years of probation for causing a chain reaction smash-up on March 30, 2024, when he was behind the wheel of a Lamborghini that veered onto the shoulder of the North Central Expressway in Dallas, prosecutors said. I am profoundly sorry for the physical damages to person and property, Rice said in a statement he released through his attorney and prosecutors. I fully apologize for the harm I caused to innocent drivers and their families. Rice was behind the wheel of a Lamborghini that was making multiple aggressive maneuvers around traffic at 119 miles per hour, according to the Dallas County District Attorney's Office. This caused a chain reaction that affected multiple vehicles. Prosecutors said after the collision, Mr. Rice failed to check on the welfare of the victims and fled on foot. He pleaded guilty to a pair of felonies, causing a collision involving seriously bodily injury, and racing on a highway causing bodily injury. The case's resolution could open the door for the NFL to levy its own penalty against Rice. Don't forget, we look to our sports figures as role models, who played in just 4 games last season, making 24 catches for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns. He missed most of 2024 because of an injury to his lateral collateral ligament. In his rookie 2023 season, Rice caught 79 passes for 938 yards and 7 scores. We've been closely monitoring all developments in the matter, which remains under review, NFL spokesperson Brian McCarthy said in a statement Thursday. There's no timeline on next steps. Rice will have some freedom to decide when he is serving his time. The judge has allowed Mr. Rice to find a time or times to serve the jail time, and Mr. Rice, his attorney, had to follow up with the court about when he will serve the jail time. DA's spokesperson Claire Crouch said in a statement, a Chiefs rep could not immediately be reached for comment Thursday. Chiefs training camp opens Monday at Missouri Western State University. The team's first exhibition game is set for August 9 against the Arizona Cardinals, with the regular season kicking off on September 5th against Los Angeles Chargers at Corinthians Stadium in Sao Paulo. Rice, who played at nearby SMU and was drafted number 55 overall in the 2023 NFL Draft, urged voters not to follow in his lead-footed steps. There's been a lot of sleepless nights thinking about the damages that my actions caused, and I will continue working within my means to make sure that everyone impacted will be made whole. I urge everyone to mind the speed limit, drive safe, and drive smart. The crash occurred about 2.5 years after Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Henry Ruggs III drove drunk at speeds up to 156 miles per hour on a Las Vegas street and caused a fiery collision that killed a woman and her dog on November 2nd, 2021. Ruggs was sentenced to 3 to 10 years behind bars. His earliest parole eligibility date is August 5, 2026, Nevada Corrections records show. Dallas County DA John Croissant said Rice was fortunate not to have suffered or caused more extensive injuries. A vehicle in the wrong hands can be as dangerous as any weapon, Croissant said in a statement. We're extremely fortunate that no lives were lost that day, and Mr. Rice is fortunate to have walked away unharmed. We hope he takes this as an opportunity to mature and leads by example moving forward. Trump gives Putin The Times Trump's name appears in Epstein files the DOJ has already released. And this is continuing with the top stories. And I'm going to read this because details are important right now, considering there's so much going on. The Times Trump's name appears in Epstein files on DOJ, files DOJ has already released. Along with other high-profile individuals who are associated with Jeffrey Epstein, President Donald Trump's name was mentioned 9 times across the hundreds of pages made public earlier this year in the Phase 1 release of the declassified Epstein files. Excuse me. The vast majority of the documents in the Phase 1 release had been previously made public through the prosecution of Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, or through civil lawsuits, including flight logs from Epstein's plane and a redacted version of Epstein's so-called Black Book of Contacts. Trump's name appears in both the flight logs and the Book of Contacts. There's pictures as well. In the files, Trump's name was listed in Epstein's contact book, which is often referenced as his Black Book. The contact information listed under Trump's entry was redacted. The book also included entries for the president's first wife, Ivana, his daughter, Ivanka, his younger brother, Robert, and Robert's former wife, Blaine. Though Trump told New York Magazine in 2002 that Epstein was a terrific guy, the president has since disavowed the sex offender and said they had a falling out in the early 2000s. Well, I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office in 2019 after Epstein's arrest on federal sex trafficking charges. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan. I was not, a long time ago, I'd say maybe 15 years. I was not a fan of his, that I can tell you. I was not a fan of his. In the files, Trump was also listed as a passenger on Epstein's plane 8 times between 1993 and 97. And there's a picture of the flight manifest. Most flights were between Palm Beach, Florida, and Teterboro, New Jersey, according to the logs. Trump also traveled from Palm Beach to Teterboro with a stop in Washington, D.C., with Epstein, Maxwell, and his family, including Marla Trump, Tiffany Trump, and a nanny on May 15, 1994. And it goes on to list the occasions. The Phase 1 files were released by Attorney General Pam Bondi in conjunction with the FBI in late February, including 341 pages of documents related to the disgraced financier. Of those, 118 pages were duplicative of each other. The only newly released document in Phase 1 was a 3-page catalog of evidence seized during the searches of Epstein's properties in New York and the U.S. Virgin Islands. At the time of the February release, the Justice Department said it planned to release thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictment of Epstein that were not previously disclosed, once redactions were made to protect the identity of victims. However, in a memo released earlier this month, the Justice Department and the FBI said a review found no evidence Epstein kept a client list of associates or that he blackmailed prominent individuals, that no further records from the investigation would be released. Going on, astronomer CEO faces cheating allegations after being caught in Coldplay concert's kiss cam with co-worker. A tech CEO got caught in an embrace with a co-worker on the Jumbotron at a Coldplay concert, causing both to plead in embarrassment and sparking cheating allegations. Viral footage showed astronomer CEO Andy Byron and his company's chief people officer, Kristen Cabot, awkwardly jumping out of each other's arms as they flashed up on a kiss cam during the band show in Boston on Wednesday night. Real. And since there's been so much back and forth originally due to Putin's slow reaction and reluctance to end the war against Ukraine, the last news that hit the media was that Trump was saying given 50 days to comply. So this next article explains a little bit about those 50 days. Trump gives Putin strict ultimatum to make a deal on Ukraine or face consequences. And these details kind of show how these 50 days will be used to prepare. President Donald Trump put Russian President Vladimir Putin on a 50-day clock. To drive Putin to a deal on Ukraine, Trump has a new plan. Massive air defenses backed up by the Trump doctrine, where RAD wins wars. What's truly at stake is Trump's unique vision for U.S. power and prosperity. In the Oval Office with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on Monday, July 14th, Trump announced more U.S. aid to Ukraine and a 100% tariff to Russia's oil customers like China by early September. I use trade for a lot of things. It's good for settling wars, Trump said. Trump cited the example of how he employed trade threats to simmer down India and Pakistan in May. However, as he said Monday, The only one we haven't been able to get to yet is Russia. So Trump has turned up the heat. The 100% tariffs would hit the $240 billion Russian-China trade and reverberate to India, Brazil, and others. This tariff appears to be distinct from the potential 500% secondary sanctions in the Senate bill co-sponsored by Republican South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham and Connecticut Democrat Senator Richard Blumenthal, which Trump views as a backup plan. The second component of Trump's new strategy is to deprive Putin of gains from the mass air barrages of drones and missiles attacking Ukraine. Significantly, Trump has now put his personal backing behind aid to Ukraine in the form of a surge of air defenses. Trump and Rutte discussed no less than 17 Patriot air defense batteries. That's astonishing, considering that Ukraine has 6 batteries in operation now, including 3 from the U.S. and others sent from Germany, Poland, and Romania. Patriot is the gold standard for air defense. It's a full commitment by Trump and NATO to stopping Putin's brutal war. Trump is also brandishing Tomahawk land attack missiles like a stiletto in a street fight. TLAMMs could swiftly decimate Russia's air force. Trump says he won't give Ukraine TLAMs or other long-range missiles that could hit targets in Russia just now, but then we all remember the head fake prior to the B-2 strike on Iran, don't we? Russia has taken 100,000 casualties since January for paltry ground gains. With Trump empowering NATO, Putin is targeting Ukraine's power grid and infrastructure, along with indiscriminate terror attacks. The salvos consist mainly of Iranian Shahed drones, some of which are now manufactured in Russia, along with decoys. Each barrage includes a handful of weapons that are hard to intercept: Iskander ballistic missiles, KH-101 cruise missiles, and even old Soviet air defense missiles converted for ground attack. The bad news is that Russia's literally thousands of older missile types. Ukraine's air defenders are top-notch due to considerable assistance from the U.S., NATO partners, and others. Sophisticated monitoring and tracking have enabled Ukraine to shoot down most of Putin's air weapons, but this spring's saturation attacks have been challenging. Air defense is a group effort. The joint U.S.-Norwegian NASAMS used the converted AM-120 fighter plane air-to-air missile and boasts a 94% success rate. Another favorite is the Frankenstein SAM, which combines old Soviet-style bulk launchers rewired by clever Americans to fire U.S. missiles like the Sea Sparrow. Australia has deployed its sophisticated E-7 Winchtail radar surveillance plane to monitor drone and missile trajectories for intercept. If worst comes to worst, a few NATO partner F-35s could scour the skies. Done right, the air defenses and TLAM threats will diminish the damage to Ukraine and secure Europe against Russia's ongoing weapons buildup too. There's nothing the NATO allies want more than to protect their strategic ports, railways, and capitals from any threat of Russian drones and missiles. Air defense also ties back to Trump's primary goal, which is a ceasefire to stop the killing and a peace deal that will leave Ukraine with a viable economy. He's already shifted more of the financial burden to NATO, and it's a good sign that the European Union on Wednesday proposed $116 billion for Ukraine's economic reconstruction. Initially, I thought that when the war kind of first started, that with all the destruction that was going on, besides the loss of life, that Russia would be saddled with that responsibility, but here it's being picked up by European Union. Make no mistake, this is a very high stakes move by President Trump. Success with the squeeze of secondary sanctions will take agile behind the scenes negotiation and a bit of luck. If his stratagem works, Trump will have proved the duo of tariffs and selective military power can defeat the Russia-China cabal. America will be in a strong position to reconfigure our military posture and economic strategy to face down China's global menace. So, there you have that one. And the next one in the headlines, going away from world affairs, bringing it back home again. Trump diagnosed with minor vein condition after noticing swelling in legs. You may or may not have seen a photo of President Donald Trump's ankles. They seem swollen, so that is the diagnosis and explanation for that at 79 years old. And bringing up the headlines and top stories is one involving domestic business. Denise Richards accuses estranged husband of abuse and death threats in restraining order filing. And I'm going to read this one to you because of the details. And this is dated 23 hours ago. Out of Fox News. Denise Richards has been granted a temporary restraining order against her estranged husband, Aaron Vipers, after accusing him of domestic violence. In court documents obtained by Fox News Digital, Richards, 54, requested a temporary domestic violence restraining order against Vipers, 49, while detailing the alleged abuse she endured throughout her marriage. Throughout our relationship, Aaron would frequently violently choke me, violently squeeze my head with both hands, tightly squeeze my arms, violently slap me in my face and head, aggressively slam my head into the bathroom towel rack, threatened to kill me, hold me down with his knee on my back to the point where I would have to plead with him to get off me so that he would not kill me, and hack into my laptop and phone and download all my text messages. Richards claimed in the documents filed on July 16th. Aaron regularly threatened to break my jaw and would cry, beg me to stay, and promise to get help, none of which ever happened. Aaron has caused me at least 3 concussions. Until now, I've been afraid to report Aaron to the police or file for a restraining order because he has repeatedly threatened to kill himself and me if I reported him to the police, among his other threats of harm to me and himself if he is reported for his abuse to anyone. Richards continued. Additionally, said Richards, Vipers threatened that I would disappear if I called the police. Richards claimed that the most recent assaults happened between July 4th and 14th. Aaron's actions were scaring me to the point that, as with nearly all Aaron's abuse of me, I was afraid that Aaron might kill me, she stated. A representative for Richards did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital's request for comment. Earlier this month, Vipers filed for divorce after 6 years of marriage. In the court documents obtained by Fox News Digital, Vipers filed on July 7th, citing the separation date as July 4th. The former couple tied the knot in 2018 and do not share children. Richards shares daughters Sammy, 20, and Lola, 19, with Charlie Sheen. She adopted her youngest daughter, Eloise, 13, on her own in 2011 after her divorce from Sheen. Pfeiffer's cited unreconcilable differences as the reason for the divorce and is seeking spousal support from Richards. According to court documents, Pfeiffer said Richards makes over $250,000 per month from her OnlyFans career, her reality show, and brand deals. He alleged in the filing that he's had no income in the last 12 months after closing his business. Pfeiffer's claimed that the couple spends about $105,000 per month. He estimated that $20,000 is spent on clothes, $18,000 on rent, $10,000 on groceries, $8,000 on utilities, $15,000 on eating out, and $15,000 on entertainment. And that concludes the article. News-wise, it's been a very interesting Friday, July 18th, 2025. And we have the weekend ahead of us. Here in Lexington, in the middle, per se, of Restaurant Week. And I Googled it and come to find out that other cities across the United States do have their Restaurant Week as well, starting as early as February and continuing throughout the year. Our neighbor city, Louisville, also has their Restaurant Week. So if nothing else, right in the middle of summer, you can get your grub on. That's it. Hashtag